head football coach at the University of Wyoming, getting ready for the border war. I believe it's the longest football rivalry west of the Mississippi. Certainly the Bronze Boot is there. I know that when it comes to games like this, you throw records out, and while we certainly have not had the year that I thought we would have at this point, I don't know how Coach Bohl sees their squad, but I do know Colorado State has got a great tradition. Coach Bohl does a great job, man of integrity. Their team will play hard. The Cowboys will play hard, and it's going to be a fun game. After reflecting of last week, certainly disappointing we didn't come up with a win. Choosing to say that the glass is somewhat half full, I think that there were certainly some bright spots with the game. I thought our defense really handled the up-tempo pace extremely well. We were able to get their quarterback off rhythm. He'd been completing close to 70% of his passes, and I think he was in the 40% there. We did have the one explosive play at the beginning of the game that was a high-risk, high-reward call, and it didn't turn out our way. I thought, offensively in the second half, we did some good things. Certainly the yardage indicated that as well. We're going to move forward. We were not able to play with Alonzo Velasquez during the game. I would think that it's going to be doubtful for him the rest of the year. He's got some knee issues, and so that's disappointing for him and for us. Rudy Stouffer will continue to go in and start at his place. We'll continue to be the same punter with Dante Crow, but we will use Ryan on other times as well. The status at the quarterback position, I purposely have listed that as or. That's going to be evaluated during the course of this week. They each bring different elements to the table. We'll see how they perform during the course of this practice. We played both guys last week. That certainly could come into play as well. But that's going to be a game time decision. So for those who are here, if you want to know, show up in Fort Collins at 8 o'clock and you're going to find out. I'm personally excited about this game. Our players are excited about this game. It's one of the things. I've coached 36 years. These are fun things to go out and compete when you have two really classy programs. You throw out the records and you tee it up and see who's the best ball club. So at this time, questions that are out there. Yes, over here. Start to my right side.
Craig, when you came here to North Dakota State 5 years ago, how long did it take you to, understand the importance of it, how much this rivalry meant to both sides?
I would say after the first year. For me, as a head football coach, there were other rivalry games, traveling trophies that I'd been part of. The Nebraska-Oklahoma series, which is no longer there, was a huge series. North Dakota State, we had a series with the UND or South Dakota State, but I really wasn't, I didn't get the full gravity until that week of the game. And then also, after that, there's a real sense of pride in our state. We're a sparsely populated state that people, choose to have comments about our weather and some of the other elements of our state. And so there's a great deal of pride for our state to go down and represent ourselves and the institution, and to have a traveling trophy like the Bronze Boot is great. And so it was after the first year I underestimated the importance of the game, and since that time I've personally embraced it, and it's been a great rivalry. Yes, Robert.
I know you evaluate both quarterbacks for the week, but is it tricky? It's a short week, but then to get them both reps, or the reps you think they need to, so you can make that evaluation. Will that be difficult this week?
It is a challenge because you start looking at the number of reps. We're practicing longer today than what we normally do on Monday. CSU has an advantage; they have a day ahead of us, but we'll make that up. We typically try to get two quarterbacks ready, Robert. And so, last week Sean was interjected during the course of the week, but we'll distribute our reps probably differently. Nick Smith is probably not going to get hardly any reps. So we'll have a give and take. And both of those guys bring different things to the table. Sean can throw the football, but he's got excellent running skills. Tyler's got good running skills, but he's got a good arm. And so there's different parts of the playbook that we'll look at and see what's going to put us in best position. I can tell you there will be a firm decision at game time, and then we'll see how the game goes as the game begins to unfold right here.
Coach, can you talk about the dynamic that Sean brings to the quarterback position, maybe a little bit different than your kind of typical pro-style quarterback? I mean, I know you've had running guys that can run like Josh and Carson, but can you talk about his different dynamic a little bit?
Yeah, I certainly can. You know, he's a young guy that is a very competitive player. When I watched him play high school football, the game that I went to, he was diving over a pile trying to block a punt and landed on his head. He played catcher on the baseball team. All those things are part of his DNA. I doubt that there will be a time that he will ever run out of bounds unless we're trying to conserve the clock. I doubt that there's ever going to be a time that you'll see him slide. There's good and bad with that, but I'll take the good.
Does that remind you of Josh, just real follow a little bit?
There's a lot of similar qualities. And so, you know, Sean's trying to find his way. There are certainly things in the game that he could have done better. There are certainly things that he did. I can tell you, I didn't think the stage was too big for him. I didn't think he went out there. Now, the first series when he fumbled, it was disappointing because they had harped on that. And I said, you know, you're going to get hit at different angles harder than you ever have. And so it's kind of like one of those parental advice that sometimes, yeah, I got it, Dad, I got it, until now I understand. But I think he understands that. But it was fun to see him out there. It was fun to see Tyler out there as well. Yes.
The offensive momentum between Tyler and Sean, is there hope moving forward against CSU that would make you believe that perhaps Sean would bring more of an element, granted that he would be named the starter, of course. And did you see things that you liked that Tyler did versus what Sean didn't do in the second half?
Yeah, a couple things that Tyler does. First of all, and there was, and I'm surprised nobody's asked me in this why Tyler went in on the last 2 minutes. There's things that Tyler brings that Sean doesn't. I mean, his understanding of all the progressional reads, not the first, second, but the third and fourth, and changing protections and how he's scanning the field. He's just much further along. And those are things that we felt like put our football team in the best position to have a chance with a minute some left to move the ball down the field. And he had done an excellent job against Wofford. And so he still possesses those things. Sean does not have that wealth of knowledge. Sean does have maybe a little bit more of an explosive running edge. He does have a live arm. He can throw it a country mile, but his skill set as far as being a refined pro-style quarterback, you know, that's not there. Now, his competitive nature certainly is, and his other physical skills are. And those are going to be things that I'll look at, that I'll have consultation with Brent Vegan during the course of the week. You know, I'll listen to Brent, but ultimately, in the end of the day, that's going to be my decision.
You mentioned that. You know, you mentioned that decision with Tyler, and at the very end, you were very adamant that was, you know, stand-by decision. After looking at film and meeting with coaches and stuff, did you still feel comfortable with that decision? And I guess how are the two quarterbacks doing, just mental-wise, this morning, you know, early this week as they get, you know, after that experience and then get ready for another game?
I'm going to have a chance to talk when we had a short window yesterday, and I'll have a chance to talk with both of the guys before today's practice. Yeah, there is no second guessing our decision. Coach Vegan and I were in constant communication during that time. I can't tell you if I felt like we had 4 minutes left in the game. Probably would have been a different call. Because of what we were doing offensively, the style that we were running, and you know, it all came down to that. There was a decision that was made. It was the decision on the field initially was going to be a 4th down as opposed to a 1st down, and at that time we had enough time. But you know, through that next time, I just looked and said that for us to go that length of the field that playbook is going to have to change, and we're not sure Sean's capable of that.
Craig, with Sean playing in week 6, do you completely throw out any consideration with the red shirt now, or will that still be in play as the rest of the season goes on?
I can tell you this, our responsibility is to this football team, the players and the coaches that we have, and the seniors that we have on our football team. And so I know this, we're in a one-game season. We're getting ready to play Colorado State. We'll let the dust settle after this game. This is a fun deal, and we're going to do everything we can to win this one. Yes, the Cowboy in the back of the room.
If we see Sean this week, do you think what would be more of a diverse offensive approach? Will there be more throwing involved because he's had time to work?
Well, I'm sure Coach Bobo is listening to this press conference as well, so I'm going to frame this. Mike, if you're listening out there, which I know you are, we're certainly going to have a more open playbook. Come on. Yeah.
Craig, I know with CSU, they've played 2 quarterbacks this year. Carson has played a lot, and I know Hill has played some, and they like him. Do they do a lot different when either one's in there, or it's pretty much the same schemes, or is it a challenge for your defense to prepare for 2 quarterbacks as well, maybe this year?
I would say right now, our comparison would be, if you remember Boise State last year, Rippon and the other guy that came in and really diced us up to, I forget what his name was. I mean, they had different elements that really posed problems. I think that's a little bit more where we're at. I think Coach Bobo has done a great job with those 2 quarterbacks, and so their style, what they do, is more similar. I think there's a pretty significant difference right now between Sean and Tyler, and that difference between their guys probably is not as great. Yes.
You mentioned opening up the playbook some. Obviously not asking you to give anything away, but if you go with Sean, how do you do that? How realistic is that for a true freshman who's spent most of the year on the scout team?
Well, he went through fall camp, so he's got the elements. We installed our whole offense during fall camp, and there's nuances each week that you go against a different defense, and you're going to frame things in a different way. But Sean's got a good understanding, but it's not as in-depth because of the library of experience that he has. But last week, there were elements that we felt like that would play to his strength. We were going to use those in a timely fashion. I think we did. There's certainly going to be more things that he'll do this next week. But to think that Sean's going to go out and do everything that Josh Allen did like last year, that's unrealistic. But you're certainly going to see more than what you did. If Sean's our quarterback, you're going to see much more than what we saw Saturday. Yes.
I had an opportunity to watch Sean's varsity, his junior season.
Did you?
I did. I had a chance to watch that. I went in a huddle and I did my research.
Okay.
He's very good on the run. Out of the pocket, he has the instinct. He has the arm. A big arm. Reminds me of a Sam Darnold-esque kind of guy. Do you see the development moving forward for him to be that big play guy, being able to put more RPO type mentality into every snap that he takes?
There's some pretty insightful questions you have there. You know what we see out of both of the guys. Both of the guys have a strong arm. Football is really important to them. Each guy's got a certain amount of strengths that they have. I think Tyler right now certainly is, while his numbers have not bared it out in practice, he's more of an accurate passer than Sean. There's things that Sean, I think, has maybe been able to do that both of them, I think, can throw on the run well. I think Sean's probably a little bit more capable runner, and so we'll develop those skills. But we can't be one-dimensional. Whoever plays our quarterback, it's not like we're not going to run Tyler, and it's not like we're not going to get into some drop-back scheme with Sean.
You see on the depth chart, you have Zach Watts listed as starting at left guard, a true freshman. What are you thinking there?
I think we got a good player, and we looked during the course of this game, and Zach is from Windsor. He was an excellent high school player. He's been competitive. He'll maintain blocks. I think there's a certain progression an offensive lineman goes through that they start to learn. I can tell you this. we need more competitive football players on our football team, and we need more competitive guys on offense, period. The numbers bear that out. And so our football team is going to become more competitive. Either some of those guys are going to change their DNA, which sometimes that's possible, sometimes it's not, or some of the other guys ain't going to be there, and we're going to get a competitive guy in there. And Zach Watts will fight you. If we want him in our foxhole, that'll be a big ball game for him, but it's at this stage not going to be too big for him, and we're excited about having him. That left an indelible impression on me. This is a big, big deal. And when we won it a couple years ago, and I saw our players all run to our fans that were down there, and there'll be a boatload of our fans down there, that's a big deal to our fans. And, you know, so, yeah, it's a big thing.
Coach, you mentioned that you didn't think that the moment was too big for Sean, a true freshman. I mean, even Tyler, a redshirt freshman. You got a lot of young guys on here. I mean, this is a game where, you know, it is a big moment. Emotion plays a big role in that. How do you control the emotion to just get them to play, I guess?
I think certainly some of it comes into positioning them to where they're going to be successful. The things that we're asking them to do are within their skill set. And that's more art than science. That's kind of a gut feeling you have as a coach. You watch a guy during practice, you're composing the game plans, you know what type of a game atmosphere it's going to be. You also see the competitive nature and the competency of the player, and so that's how we fashion that. Sometimes we're off a little bit. I think more times we're right than wrong. I applaud you on the fact that you look at our chart. There's a lot of young guys. When you're not going to see me stand up here and say, oh, woe is us, and, you know, the future looks bright. We got all these. We're not spending it that way. We got the guys we got, and they're going to be in position to go down there and have the mentality to win the football game. Yep.
Coach, will you talk a little bit about what you see from Colorado State's defense coming in, kind of a group that struggled from time to time, giving up a lot of points, a lot of yards?
Well, they certainly have. I think, you know, they've got a new coaching staff, and anytime you have a new coaching staff, there's going to be a learning curve that you have. They have, I know through the years, they've gone from a 3 down to a 4 down to a 3 down to, and while the average public may not think that that's that big a deal, it always amazes me and I appreciate our fans. You know, everybody's an expert on what's going on offense, and you're running up the middle, or you're at this style of offense. But if you talk to them about the differences between those differences on defense, they couldn't tell you, and a lot of media people couldn't tell you. But that's a big difference, and so they've gone through a curve, and I think they're probably going to, you know, I'm sure they're halfway through their season or past halfway. They're going to hit their stride. The guys play hard. They have given up some big plays. We just hope there's a bunch of big plays come Friday night on our side.
I know the season's been a challenge, but this is about the third straight week you're basically offering on a short week because of, you know, travel weather and stuff. I mean, I know you're not an excuse guy, but how challenging has that been as it is basically 3 straight weeks on a short week?
That has been, and there's science that backs it up. We tag our guys with GPS chips, and we tag their movements and their miles per hour. Our team speed is down. Some of our players, you just go through that. I don't care who you are. You know, you take those trips. Kevin's over there. I mean, that had a residual effect. And as much as what we wanted to rely on enthusiasm, emotion, and adrenaline, there's a baseline for that. And so we're making accommodations for that as we fashion practice schedules. Normally we would have practice yesterday. We chose not to practice, and that was a hard thing for me to get over, because there's a routine you have, but there's a diminishing returns that you have when you're just pounding some guys. And not only that travel schedule, but you know, I'm really proud of the fact that these guys are student athletes, and they're right in the middle of some really, really intense finals. Andrew Winger was up till 12:30 in the morning, I don't know how, or 12:30, studying. You know, he'll graduate. I see Carl Granderson and the OAS grinding away, and so between the travel and the missed class time, and then those guys and getting their sleep, that had an effect. And we got beat by a good football team. And so we're trying to schedule things right for them to get to bed a little bit early. Certainly Friday night, I would have rather played it Saturday. That's what the conference gives us. This year has been probably, I would say, is more challenging than what I can remember as a head coach. Just all the nuances of what we've done. You guys have had some softball questions.
I have a hardball one. Defensively, there was an interception. I was down at that end of the end zone, hit with the ball, of course, as Tyler just chucked it down. As far as from an opportunity standpoint, is there a 50-50 between right now, between Sean and Tyler standing under center against CSU?
Well, here's what I would tell you. Game starts at 8 o'clock Friday night. Buy a ticket, you'll be there. All right, anything else? You know, I do want to make a comment on this too. I sit on the National AFCA Board of Trustees, and I understand the games we play and when we play them. There was a proposal that I was fully supportive of that we would not play on Friday night simply because it went head-to-head against high school football. We don't think that that's good for the sport of football, but as usual, as coaches, you know, between Nick Saban and everybody else, we pounded our chest and we didn't get very far. So I'm glad you're going to be at high school football Friday night.